When it comes to the wizarding world, nothing is truly what it appears to be. With so many secrets to uncover, there's no right way to complete it all, but we've got some helpful tips to save you some time. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here, welcome back to Legacy Gaming. Today, after more than 70 hours with the game, we're sharing everything we wish we knew sooner about Hogwarts Legacy. Before we dive in, I just want to let you all know that this entire video is story spoiler free. Tips and tricks are meant to help you in and around the game world with the various Hogwarts Legacy systems, so never fear, we would never ruin anything for our awesome community. Let's start off with a few simple tips on a spell you get early on in the game, Revelio. You're going to use this all the time, so you better know exactly how it works. While it reveals all of the interactable objects in an area, there's also a sound that alerts you to hidden pages around the world. Understanding these sounds is key. Think of this tool like a sonar. The quicker the sound returns after using this spell, the closer the page is to your character. Likewise, the longer it takes to ping back, the further away the page is. If you don't hear anything, that simply means there are no pages in the area. The spell also makes use of directional sound. If you pay close attention, you can hear the direction the ping comes from. Be sure to use these two tips in combination to quickly track down all of the elusive pages you're searching for to build out your collection. You can also use Revelio while flying. That's right, while zipping from point to point, you never know what the devs have hidden out there, so make sure to use this to your advantage. You can also use Revelio from a broom to identify farmable materials for your room of requirement. One final tip about the spell, once you hit level 16, make sure to invest in Revelio Mastery. This boosts the radius of the spell a significant amount and could be the difference between seeing an object or missing it completely. Let's revisit those pages real quick. Around the castle, you'll encounter various ways to find pages, including these two activation statues. These dragon cauldrons can be activated with any fire spell that can reach them, and in a similar manner, you'll also come upon these statues, which can be activated by whichever spell is highlighted on their base. Once activated, both will reward you with their respective page, which you can add to your collection. Another thing to look out for, these chests right here that have an ever-watchful eye. Get too close and they'll slam shut, sealing their treasure away. Well, just use the disillusionment charm outside of detection range to stay hidden from their sight, and you'll be able to creep forward and swipe their precious loot. Hunt these down around the world for some quick galleons that'll greatly help speed up your progression in other aspects of the game that require you to purchase things like seeds, scrolls, and even broom upgrades. Nothing's worse than looking like a frumpy wizard. In fact, transmog is a huge selling point for a lot of people playing this game, and I totally get why. If you want to look the part and get your hands on an incredible piece of cosmetic gear, then you'll want to complete the Daedalian Keys quest. This kicks off when you talk to Nellie Ogspire in the Transfiguration Courtyard at Hogwarts. You'll then be tasked with finding 16 flying keys scattered all around the castle. We actually have a great video breaking that all down because, I'll be honest with you guys, it's a bit of a bear. Using Revelio and a whole lot of searching, this took me around 3 hours to complete, but it was well worth it as the House Relic uniform is by far one of the coolest cosmetics you can find in the game. Alright, let's look at some combat. As you encounter enemies, you'll quickly find out how important your Protego and Stupify combination is. Using Protego simply shields you from the incoming attack, but holding Protego will counter with a Stupify. But you don't actually have to counter the enemy that casts the spell, and that's the trick. You can redirect Stupify to any enemy you want. When you see this counter happen, you can either retarget to a different target using toggle via the accessibility options, or look at a different enemy to direct Stupify towards them. In the first 3 difficulties, this will also break any shield of an enemy regardless of the color, but that's not the case on the harder difficulties, and you'll still need to break an enemy shield using the correct colored spell. Being able to temporarily remove an enemy from combat is a game changer and will give you a lot more breathing room while you deal with other threats. While we're on the subject of spells, let's talk about spell sheets. You'll constantly be switching up spells on your bar from event to event. This gets a bit tedious and breaks up the gameplay. At the beginning, you'll have to pause what you're doing, find the right spell, and slot it in on your bar. This is where spell sheets come into the picture and are unlocked via spending points in core talents. We highly recommend purchasing these as soon as you gain access to your talent system via story progression to make your spell switching a breeze. Just being at level 5 will allow you to get an additional 2 sheets, and this helps out a ton as you take on all of your adventures. Once you unlock your Room of Requirement, you'll be able to start making potions and harvesting plants. Here's the kicker. Any potion can be made at any potion station, but plants require a certain sized pot, which are all different stations. So for instance, if you wanted to plant a venomous tentacula, you need a large pot, but you can plant a small potted plant in a large potting station. So we highly advise running to the Tomes and Scrolls merchant in Hogsmeade and picking up a potting table with a large pot spellcraft. This can accommodate small, medium, and large potted plants. Of course, if you can afford it, always buy the bigger stations with more slots, but this will get you off to a great start. In the same vein, you have the option to purchase plants directly from a merchant, but for a hefty price. We'd advise you to always purchase the seeds from the Magic Neep or Dogweed and Deathcap shops to plant on your own in the Room of Requirement. Just take a look at Mallowsweet leaves, an essential item for Merlin trials. These cost 100 galleons for 2 leaves. If you spend the 200 galleons for the seed recipe instead, each plant will yield a base amount of 5 every 10 minutes, immediately saving you a ton of money on the first harvest alone. It's a little more work to manage, but will save you thousands of galleons in both the short and long term for that upfront investment. Speaking of plants, keep tabs on timers. Each plant has a cooldown before you can harvest that item again. Make note to come back at some point to harvest, and the timer will automatically start back up. This helps to optimize your harvest and keep your stockpile of materials high. Potions, on the other hand, will need to be queued up every time, as it doesn't auto-start the next potion once you collect it. If you're a completionist, then you'll want to make sure you always have some Mallowsweet on hand. Since these are used to activate each of the Merlin trials you find out in the world, you don't want to be caught empty-handed. Once you activate a trial, they remain activated. Just make sure to keep enough leaves stocked up so that you're always ready. While optional, we feel Merlin trials are a pretty essential part of the game. Completing these trials will eventually open up expanded inventory slots. You can check out your progression right from the challenges menu. You'll get 4 additional slots per tier, so this will go a long way to easing the pain of gear collection and give you even more time between stops at the merchant. While we're talking about materials, don't forget about those beasts in your Vivaria. As you add items to your Room of Requirement and apply different gear traits, you're going to need specific materials from different beasts. Just like the plants and potions, beast materials are farmable on a cooldown. Stock up on these early, as you'll want to have accumulated enough materials by the time you want to use them and tweak your gear. At some point, you'll unlock your Loom in the Room of Requirement and finally get to apply traits to those empty trait slots on your gear. As you can see, we have level 1, 2, and 3 traits that correspond to the slot on a piece of gear. It's worth noting that a higher level trait slot can accommodate a lower level trait, so if you just don't have anything to put in a level 3, don't waste the slot, at least put a lower level trait to reap the benefit. We also want to highlight that the primary way to unlock traits is by clearing out the bandit camps around the world. You can, however, get a piece of gear that has a trait in it that you don't already have. Unfortunately, this doesn't permanently unlock the trait for you, and if you destroy that piece of gear, well, you just lose the trait too. Speaking of gear, your inventory is limited. You'll get gear at a very quick rate, which means you're going to fill up fast. The only way to make more room is sell your gear or destroy it. There's no worse feeling than being in a mission only to get the notification that your inventory is full. So you're forced to choose, destroy a piece of gear and forfeit the galleons, or lose out on what's in the chest. What's even worse, if you get to the end of a mission that rewards you gear, you don't even get the option to select what to dispose of, you just lose the reward flat out. If you destroy it, you don't get any of the materials or galleons, so it's a huge waste. There is really no point in hoarding unwanted gear, since as soon as you pick up a new piece, that transmog will automatically be added to your appearances. You only need to keep what you plan on using, so be conscious of this, and at every break you get between quests and exploring, go sell your unwanted gear and at least get some galleons. If gear is something you care about, then might we recommend talking to Gladwin Moon near the One-Eyed Witch passage in Hogwarts. This will kickstart a quest to collect demiguise statues scattered around the entire world. This quest unlocks advanced versions of Alohomora and will allow you to lockpick the toughest locks in the game, giving you access to all sorts of wonderful treasures, including ornate chests, which are guaranteed to drop legendary items. We've got a full breakdown of this quest and everything you need to know to complete it on the channel, so go check that out. This brings us to our next point. Don't forget to collect your challenge rewards. You'll be notified when you complete these, but there aren't any glaring reminders to actually go collect your reward other than the exclamation point within the menu. There were several times we were distracted enough we just forgot to collect these, and admit the rewards would have made our lives easier if we had collected them much earlier. Let's also touch on some travel tips. You'll immediately start unlocking Floo points as soon as you begin the game. If you're like me, you may have thought you had to physically be at a Floo point to travel to another Floo point, but that's not the case. You can fast travel to another Floo point from just about anywhere in the world, so long as you're not in combat. While slightly immersion breaking, it's a great quality of life feature, and I for one really enjoy this level of freedom in a massive open world game. Floo points are relatively easy to find and use, so we recommend, once you get your broom, to start traveling around the map and grab as many points as you can. It'll take you some time to get them, or at least a good portion of them, but let me tell you this. When you're questing far north and you want to travel far south, you'll be so glad those Floo points are activated. Finally, and this one may be obvious to some, but the map system for Hogwarts Castle isn't great. You can spend a lot of time aimlessly trying to rotate the camera and drill down into the Floo network to find where you want to go. But to that, I say, just use the list navigation on the left. It's such a better experience, doing the majority of the work for you, rotating and zooming accordingly. Use it and avoid the frustration that is the Hogwarts map itself. We hope these tips will help you on your start in the wizarding world. There is so much to explore in Hogwarts Legacy, so if you stumble upon a good tip or trick you want to share with the community, let us know in the comments section below. Who knows, we may even feature your tip in a future video. I also want to invite you to join the Legacy gaming community on Discord. We recently reworked our entire server, so if you're looking for a place to hang out, win free prizes, talk about great games like Hogwarts Legacy, and group up with friends, check out the link in the description below. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.